Welcome to the Burnout, where we help teachers and education professionals recharge their purpose, revise their passion, and regain their power. The show where we tackle the problems in education, one solution at a time. I'm your host, Kendria Johnson, and we look forward to helping you beat the burnout.
And welcome to another episode of The Burnout. I am your host, Kendria Johnson. I am your teacher coach. I make good teachers great by bringing them out of burnout back into a balanced life. And today's show, I have a young lady whom I've just met. So we get to meet her together. Miss Laura is it Waddle?
Waldy.
Vaughn Waldy. Thank you so much for correcting me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I know Laura. I got that part right, yes?
Yes.
Laura, okay. So Laura and I connected on a website. You know how these things go. We connect with like-minded people. And I feel like the universe is bringing me people that have the same goal, the same aspirations, the same vision, the same business. And this young lady just happens to be similar to what I am, a career burnout coach. And I cannot wait for her to share her story, tell us where she's from, and tell us about your journey and how did you come to be a burnout coach.
Absolutely. So I think like all of us, we love to teach what we know. And what I found out through my own journey was that burnout is not something to play around with. And I went into the law enforcement field. It was my dream job. I got all my degrees for it, right? I studied forever to do this. And what I found out was that once I got my dream job, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. I was exhausted all the time. I would dread coming into work every day. It was a really toxic work environment. And very similar to teachers, there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape and those things that really wear you down. And I kind of found myself facing this moment of like, I don't want to be here, but I don't know where else I want to be. And it felt like that was the only choice I had in order to step out of burnout and not just be a zombie every day. So after going through a very long, over 2-year process of healing journey, figuring out where I wanted to be, I've kind of taken all the lessons that I've learned, the things that actually moved the needle and healed my burnout quicker and faster. And now I give those to other people. So for me, that looked like emotional regulation, mindset work, and what I like to refer to as trauma resolution. But we like to do a little small T trauma, not the big T trauma, if that makes sense.
That absolutely does make sense. I want you to talk about what you see. Since you've spoken to a lot of teachers, I've definitely spoken to a lot of teachers, about the biggest issues, the biggest hurdles that you're seeing with people in education, since that's what this podcast is about. It's not limited to people in education. However, do you see any common threads with us? And I say us as teachers. You see anything that that they're suffering from, or things that you see that can be prevented?
Absolutely. So I'd say it's two things primarily, and it's kind of like these two things go together, but they're separate issues. First and foremost, which is lack of staffing. And I think that's absolutely true for the teacher industry in general, education in general, which is that when we're understaffed, we kind of have this natural need to like fill those gaps, fill those holes, work even harder, take on more work, instead of learning how to advocate for ourselves, which can be very tricky and very intimidating. Mm-hmm. And on the opposite end of that, we continue to overwork and prove ourselves. Yeah. So it feels really good to be that person that they go to continue to overcommit yourself and overschedule yourself and keep going above and beyond. And granted, we need teachers that go above and beyond, but they already do. And to do it in order to fill some of that self-esteem or self-worth within yourself is what leads you into burnout, right? We can always choose and make a choice to overgive. But when we're constantly doing it to prove ourselves or to feel better internally, that's where it starts becoming really murky. And that's where the burnout really, I find, wears people down and just they leave. They're like, I don't see a way out of this, so I'm going to go. Because that's when it starts to feel like, now I can't stop. I've started this precedence and I can't really like take the cart back, right?
Yeah, you can't take the cart back if you're the horse pushing it. I agree.
Exactly.
My coworker calls it donkey work. She says the
Mm-hmm.
more they put on you, the more they put on you. The more you take, the more they put on you. The more you can take, the more they will put on you. Something interesting you said, and I agree with you 100%. Everything you said is just check, 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 check. Matter of fact, I want you to give me a list later, and I'm going to put it right on the screen so people can write it down. But the overcommitment, the overworking ourselves, and the point of the murky part that you was talking about as far as why are you doing it? I'm going to go ahead and let you in on a secret. I know we just met and I'm not really good. I shouldn't really be giving my secrets away. But the reason why I was burnt out is because I felt like I had to overdo my job because I was trying to get value and worth from them. My job, my kids, I was trying to get validation from all of them. It was an issue with me. I was a people pleaser. And that can take different forms. And for me, it was overworking myself and never saying no to everything that they were giving me to do. And you said exactly the same thing that I was thinking at the time, which was I like being the one that they called to do stuff, to put out fires and come and get that student and handle that situation. But that became too much. It becomes absolutely too much. If you had a magic wand and you could, erase something, amend something, add something to people's psyche, that the people that you talk to, that you try to help, that would fix their problem like that. I want you to talk about what that would be. Just give it some thought.
Well, you said something earlier that I tell my clients all the time, and they hate me for it. But it's that you're not in control, but you're in choice. When we try to be in control, that tends to be like very challenging because so much of life genuinely is not in our control, but you can always be in choice in how you react to it. So you can choose whether or not to take those extra things on. You can choose whether or not you're going to be resentful about them. You can choose not to do them next time, right? Like all of these moments are choice points, as opposed to feeling like, wow, I just have to keep doing this. I have to sustain this. I have to keep running at this pace, right? And that's what I teach my clients, is that that's a trauma response. It keeps us not staying present. So if I had a magic wand, I would give everyone the awareness of choice, because so often even our language is about having absolutely no choice. And that really leads to that victim mentality that makes burnout feel impossible to heal.
All right. And if you can't hear that, that is my audience clapping for you, because this show, the reason I put this show together is, number one, to talk to people who are smarter than me. Number two, to talk to people who I'm not thinking of these thoughts by myself. There's people now, we don't even live in the same place. And there's people all over the world who are having this exact same problem. I live in the Middle East. Okay. And I have clients here. So, the people come here and it's a beautiful sun and a beautiful, the scenery here, but they bring their problems with them and they bring their mentality with them. I did it. And how many, you can cry by the beach. You can be miserable on a mountain. You can be, on vacation and be unhappy. So before we leave, before we wrap up, because I told you this, my show is very, very, very informative. We get right to the point because our goal is to help people. But before we go, I want you to give maybe 3 points. Okay. I don't want you to give away all your secrets, but give away 3 points that you would tell someone who's listening to this and says, I think this is me. I tuned into this burnout podcast because that's how I feel. Give them some points and tips, and then we'll close out by telling everybody how they can find you, where they can find you, if you have a book on sale or anything like that. Floor is yours.
The first tip I always like to tell people is that burnout is a cycle. So there are going to be points in your burnout journey where you're like, I'm fine. I must be healed. Things are better. And you're probably not, especially because those underlying patterns are still there. So those are going to come up again and again, but it's not always going to feel as heavy. So if you're having those moments of burnout where you're like, oh my God, do I need to leave my job? What would I do? That's likely still going on, even in the moments where you're like, I feel great. I feel fine.
Yeah.
The second thing is that there is a really big difference between being stressed and being burnt out. Stress is temporary and literally does heal with time. It's almost like you have this project, you're working really hard on it. The minute the project is over, you feel that relief.
Yeah.
Burnout doesn't have that same relief. It's like, oh, I'm still wondering, like, did I forget something? Is there more to do? That kind of nagging feeling at the back of your brain. That's how you know you're kind of stuck in that burnout cycle. But it doesn't mean that stress isn't important to manage.
Right.
But that's where self-care comes in, is when you're stressed, as opposed to burnout, which cannot be cured with just self-care. And I think that's a really big misconception
Yes,
that
it is.
people like to keep saying.
Yes.
Go take a bubble bath, right?
Oh,
That's not
yeah.
going to burnout. Although it's going to feel great in the moment.
Yeah, go get a spa day.
100%. Yeah. Because I love a spa day. And man, did I indulge in them when I was burnt out. And it did absolutely nothing to keep me out of that cycle.
Right. That is
And
wonderful.
the last one that I would say is that this is a common problem across all industry, all careers. You are absolutely 100% not alone. And it can definitely feel like that, with the exception of maybe your immediate coworkers that you have that kind of shared venting session with. But it's a much larger problem than that. This is something that is societal and obviously international, because like you said, you have clients as well. So this is about actually human processing, not just your circumstance, not just your school, not just your particular supervisor. So changing jobs is not the answer to your problems as much as changing with intention, healing those underlying patterns, right? Stepping into a higher form of yourself that allows for that real healing to take place. Because I hate seeing people spin their wheels like I did and jump from job to job thinking that that's going to cure it, when it absolutely is not the cure. It's a step in the right direction. It probably will alleviate a lot of those temporary stressors, but it's not going to heal the burnout. You're just in another piece of that cycle.
That's exactly right. She's exactly right. I can't wait for people to see this episode. So tell us how we can get in contact with you. Do you have a website? Do you have an email? Let's say someone needs your advice. And I know you probably are in. Where are you located exactly?
So I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay,
so in the
you're in
mountains of Tennessee.
But you don't have to have clients in Tennessee.
No,
right?
I don't have to. No, actually, my clients are from all over.
Good.
They
Yeah.
kind of find me through a myriad of different ways. So you don't have to be in Tennessee. We don't have to be in the same time zone, obviously.
Obviously. Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the beautiful parts too, is that I don't just meet with people in one area or one industry or one sector of the world, because this is a problem everywhere. And I primarily support women. But if you have a man or a significant other that's struggling with burnout, he's welcome to come too. Because this does cross genders for sure.
It does. It does. Different type of stress for them. I've had one male client. He was a beta client when I first started. I had one male client and he had a confidence issue. He didn't know how to say no because he had a confidence issue. And I did my very best. And one of the things that I think the one sign of the that we're doing our job is that we don't hear from them. I got to go chase them down so I can get a testimony. But yes. So do you have an email address? Do you have anything you want to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, so you can find my website, LVW Coach, and I'll give all that to you so you can write it up for them. And then my email is laura@lvwcoach.com. And then on socials, I'm everywhere. So just come find me. I'll give you all the links so you can put it on there, because I know that last name is a headache for everyone. So I want to make it as easy as possible. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram occasionally. So I have all the links, all the ways to connect with me. And I'm always open to even just chatting with you. Maybe you're not even sure that burnout is really what you're dealing with. And I'm definitely here to support you too.
Perfect. And that's going to do it for us. Thank you, Miss Laura, for coming on at short notice. I know I kind of put you on the spot, but thank you for coming on my show and allowing me to talk to you. We have to work together. I don't know how, but what I'm going to put that out in the universe. Anything I put out in the universe, I'm very powerful. It comes back to me. So I want us to work together, because I like the fact that we are making a change. We need to change the needle of the mindsets of people these days. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now remember that the Burnout is a place where teachers can recharge their purpose, revitalize their passion, and regain their power. Till next time. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ms. Laura.
Thank you.
you